All European Union member states and 14 West African countries have signed the Economic Partnership Agreement except Nigeria, making her the only country in West Africa that is yet to sign the Economic Partnership Agreement. What prospects and why is Nigeria yet to sign the EPA? We shall also take a look at border closures and trade relations enabled by recent signposting by Nigeria on the issue. Will the closure of Nigerian land borders affect relations with her neighbors? What prospects for the economy? My guest is a lawyer and a consultant to the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Ken Okoha. Ken Okoha is also President, National Association of Nigerian Traders, NANS. Updates on the EPA agreement in West Africa. Why is Nigeria yet to sign? Land border closures by Nigeria. Will it in any way affect relations with our neighbors? Just after this time out, Diplomatic Ties continues shortly. Stay with us. To Diplomatic Ties.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We did part one on EPA. You take us to where Nigeria is now, but what is signposting currently in Nigeria is the issue of the closure of land borders. It has generated a lot of concerns, and on this program we're simply asking you, will the closure of land borders hamper relations between Nigeria and her neighbors?
Well, I don't see the closure of the borders having any sordid relationship between Nigeria and her neighbors, in the sense that I want to believe that there must be understanding on the part of Nigerian neighbors, essentially Benin Republic and Niger Republic, to the extent that, number one, what Nigeria is asking for is that legitimate trade should be conducted across the border and along the corridors. Number two, that everybody sees what is in the hands of Nigeria, notably the fact that the country is not smiling, especially when it comes to insecurity, and therefore one who is frowning cannot be allowed, cannot be expected rather to come up with laughter. And so to that extent again, everybody must understand that the country is suffering the hemorrhage of insecurity, the movement of small arms and light weapons coming into the country through some routes that one would not want to mention. And then it comes to a point where you ask yourself, what is wrong with the agencies of both governments? Why are we not tracking all of this? And why would one border be allowed to be smuggled? I mean, for the smuggling of such weapons that are detrimental to a nation. And by the way, if anything happens to this nation in terms of insecurity, what happens to this standing nation, in quote? Okay. So it must have, people must think that it will have a spillover, whether it's your economy or your people, or even in terms of security, there must be a spillover. Therefore, the best thing to do is, well, an approach could be, can we close the border, come together, so that we can, on a round table, think of ways of curtailing this, if not eliminating.
Let's look at the trade angle, mostly as it affects rice.
Yeah.
how will this show up the local production and local economy?
I think a lot of people have been talking about rice as if this is the only commodity that is traded across the borders. And I think this is wrong. If government has taken a decision in this direction to say we want to close the borders for now, it should not be, we shouldn't be looking at rice alone. And you'll be amazed to know the number of vehicles, smuggled vehicles that come into this country through such borders. You will be amazed to also know the volume of, what I said earlier, light weapons and ammunitions that are coming in unrecorded. You will also be amazed to underscore the quantum of, certain commodities that are prohibited in the country coming in through these borders. Take, for instance, what we call, the Bendam boutiques, second-hand clothing, which is under prohibition here in the country. Take another look at furniture, which is under prohibition. Take another look at shoes and leather products, which is under prohibition list. And all of these things come through these borders almost unabated. I know that maybe the customs have their own problem because some unscrupulous elements can also be pointed as collaborators in this particular process. But the National Security Advisor has, may have gone beyond all of this trade, and then looking at the economy, the impact of all of this on the economy. And let me also drop this footnote. My worry is that Nigeria has had meetings, several agreements, in fact some of them written, with some of these countries relating to stopping all of this infiltration, unnecessary infiltration and smuggling and all of that. But it keeps unabated. So there will be a time in the country, in the life of any human being or a country, society, where it starts off to take a decision.
Sure.
At least momentarily.
Okay.
So that's what is happening now. But for rice, I think that my candid opinion is that this will give a lifeline to rice productivity. And some people, a few days back, I was listening around the World Food Day celebration, and then people were saying, oh no, it will show up the price of rice. Oh yes, that's the economic, the impact of it. But let's look at the entire fulcrum of the economy. It's immediate. The price is just immediate. But let's look at the impact on the farmers. Let's look beyond the farmers and then the consumer population and see the impact of that we are consuming what we are producing. And let's now think of the impact of all of this to our overall economy and the budget of the country. Okay. Because some people have also...
Given your expertise in a trade as a lawyer, you're a trade lawyer, right?
Yes.
And you have done a couple of negotiations with ECOWAS regarding issues like this. We'll get to EPA. Now, the African Continental Free Trade Area, we talked about it, and look at it playing out. I remember I told you what safeguards are in place. How do you just pose that?
Now, again comes the wisdom, perhaps, from the powers that be, to feel that since we have signed onto the AFCFTA now, it is time for us to now fix our borders. We can't close up now. We can just close up now and do what China did, so that when we are now getting to the implementation of the AFCFTA, we would have guaranteed some sanity. And we are pointing at to the fact that the borders are porous, would they have been touched? Okay. And we could have now addressed that particular area. And then we can move to another area. So I think that this is a precursor to the AFCFTA implementation that is coming up. Okay,
what do you make of maybe these countries that will want to use maybe the neighboring countries, say Niger, Benin Republic, to launch their goods, relabel, and bring it as if they come from these countries? What happens?
The truth is that these goods are not theirs. That's one thing. These are third-party, we call them third-party goods, third-party products. The fact that, you have oil, for instance, palm oil, and then you bring palm oil from Malaysia or wherever, okay, from the Asian tigers, and then you now repackage and put a label. Okay? So we need to know what is your capacity production locally. We need to know what is your industrial capacity. We need to understand what is your population capacity. We need to also underscore there are 10 things that the ETLS mentioned. There are also 10 things, 10 procedures that the rules, regulation of ECOWAS, regulation 10/126/ that thing of ECOWAS, talking about safeguard measures, which this regulation itemized that these are procedures. Now, if that is the case, and every country that is a signatory to this, all the 15 member countries that are signatories to this, now goes back to bring in third-party, products and relabel and send to us, just like what is happening also in rice. Oh, come on. Such countries should also have some conscience to blame themselves. Because you are just looking at latching on your brother, killing your brother to exist. Okay. That's exactly what it means. So I think that this is a good scenario that has played out. And I'm happy that ECOWAS is also taking it seriously at that level to bring parties together and sit down on a table and see that a lasting solution comes to play on this matter.
High-level discussions have been held on this, and we know very much that as much as a lot of nationals from these countries that are affected in terms of the land border closure, some of their citizens may not find it that easy because Nigeria is a huge market for them. Even beyond their shores, people, even those Nigerians who use these countries as launchpad to bring in smuggled goods. What kind of attitude should they be putting up? Because this is all about it. Because some are feeling that, our businesses have been affected. In short, it is on record that border communities, land border communities, are major collaborators to these persons.
The first thing to ask ourselves is smuggling business? No, it's illegitimate business. This is not recognized, is illegal in the book of law, in terms of trade law. This is not recognized, and this is also tantamount to criminality. And when you look back and see that for somebody like me, as a member of NANS, as a leader of NANS, and an association of traders, look, people who have asked me, why are we not carrying placard against government? Come on, my brother. Why do you have to carry placard for a smuggler?
Okay.
For a criminal who is bringing arms into the country? Why? I should be concerned with legitimate trade. In fact, my heart goes out for those who are doing legitimate trade, whose businesses have been punctuated because of the closure of the border, the partial closure of the border. But I think this is also what we are taking up with the government, and we're discussing with the customs to see how some of those legitimate ones, like I had discussions the other day with, concerning Cabre, and some of our members also who are moving products from Cabre, from PZ and other to the other countries in the West African coast.
Okay.
And this has affected them to a certain extent, because it has delayed movement of goods across the border. And we are finding ways of, giving them what we call frontline explicit runway, so that they can, have a speed in the transactions.
Provided it is legitimate.
Of course, these are legitimate transactions.
Okay.
And of course, there are people who are also moving from here in an informal, so to speak, informal, level, moving goods from Butero in Lagos, moving to goods from Onitsha, moving goods from Kano, moving goods from Aba, and moving offshore. So it's affecting them somehow, but we are also classically sitting down on the table to see how agencies are going to make sure that their goods have explicit movement. And this is working out for us. Now, for those who are doing legitimate trade, those who are bringing drugs into the country, come on, am I the one to now stand before government to say, government, no, you must release these people's goods, you must open the border for them, so that they will, continue, their perfidy, and then destroy our country, destroy my own mother and my father and my, perhaps our own uncles and with such drugs? No, that's wrong.
Welcome to Diplomatic Ties.
And we're doing our best to make it as convenient and easy as possible for prospective students.
What we can do is just support the efforts of West African countries to integrate, to organize a better regional, political and economic integration.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Diplomatic Ties, building friendship and enhancing oneness among nations. Watch Diplomatic Ties on NTA International.
Some of these countries depend on the Nigerian market to survive. And as much as this is happening, they understand that this position is being a proactive stand by the government. What word of succor will you have for them in terms of, how will I say, to be patient? What kind of word will you use on that?
No, I think
because they're a bit impatient.
Yes. I think we need to...
Because closing the land border means closing up their businesses.
No. Closing the land border means closing businesses, but I also have told you that there was a partial closure. Now they are moving to full closure, all right, so to speak. Now, we have also had discussions on this, and I think that my word for them is to be a bit patient. And then we'll also begin to talk to government. We're already talking to government. I just came out from a meeting, okay? We're talking to government already to see how this lifeline can be given to these people. I don't want to expose all of this. How lifeline can be given to all of them. There are genuine traders who are using road. Again, we also, the issue of infrastructure, road infrastructure across the borders today came up. If you go to Seme, Lagos Seme road, along the border route, I mean, you will say sorry to yourself. And again, this is where government should also begin to come in, because there are a lot of taxes that could be brought in genuinely. Okay. There are a lot of import duties that could be brought in. And then our manufacturers are exporting their goods also. So they are also affected. It is not only those traders. But my word also for those, our foreign brothers, our neighbors, is that they should begin to look for better businesses, genuine businesses to embark upon. Countries as well should ensure that those tracks through which Nigeria is being swindled, in quote, should also be closed up.
With your experience as a trade lawyer, give and take, let's look at the positives. If this subsists and our neighbors keep to the terms of the closure based on what the discussions are, you just said so, what's your projection maybe in the next 1 year in terms of the local economy, production wise and other goods?
I am seeing very good impact on the economy. It may not be Uhuru, but I think there are steps heading somewhere. Take, for instance, the rice you have almost overflowed. Okay? Permit me, But, look at rice, for instance. The quantity of rice coming in from abroad now, from out of the country, is reducing. People are beginning to get the consciousness of eating local rice, which is even more, much, much better. I had the opportunity of traveling with one of the ministers, the past ministers of this country, to an Asian tiger country, Thailand, I want to say it. And we saw that some of the rice that were brought into, that are being brought into this country, have stayed up to 10, 15 years in the shelves, in the warehouses. And they are chaffs. In fact, in their own countries, what they are using those to do is to feed their animals. Feed birds, feed. But we are consuming these things. And we are jostling over them. And killing our own farmers. Killing our own economy. And I felt we should be reasonable enough.
Okay. Well, what's your opinion regarding the mindset of Nigerians? Looking at you, you look pure Nigerian. The design, the material. What's your opinion about consuming, wearing, and utilizing Nigerian-made products by Nigerians?
I have told my way. Anybody who wants to be a Nigerian should be a Nigerian. You know, this background is green. Each time I look at green, I remember I'm a Nigerian. And therefore, everything inside me out should be Nigeria. I should represent. And you know, one beautiful thing that, you know, sometimes annoys me. It is beautiful, but it annoys me. Is that each time I wear whatever, I design these things, I wear them. This is complete Nigerian. Including my shoe here. So each time I wear this and I go out, people will be, you know, hi. They'll be admiring. How did you make this? Where did you make it from? Look at the women. Look at the beautiful, you know, adire and all of that they wear. Ankara, so. Once they wear, the people outside there, go to Europe, go to America, go to other countries, they'll be admiring them. But where am I going to now be spending 100,000 naira to wear, you know, one name, and then starve myself, the little money I'll be using to eat and feed some people, and then the economy, the jobs that should be created, and everything will be weighted. Hey, come on, it doesn't make any sense at all. We need to grow our economy. We need also to be proud of who we are. I can only be a bastard when I'm sorry for using that word, if I don't recognize the name of my father. And my father's name is Nigeria. And I think I need to defend that.
Before we wrap up, what's your position regarding ECO, which has some samples of the notes have been flagged a few days ago?
Well, that's a good omen. That's a good omen. And that's the reason also why Nigeria should be preparing. Because one day, whether we like it or not, it will happen. These are signs. And so, that's also another sign that perhaps Nigerian intelligence community and security community is also seeing that they had to close the borders a bit and see that now that we are heading towards a single currency, don't forget, we have a common external tariff that's already running. Don't forget, we have ECOWAS Trade Liberation Scheme running since 1979 and 93, renewed. Now, don't forget also that we have the AFCFTA coming. So now we have all of these regional policies. What they are waiting is towards a common market. And common market requires common currency. And this common currency will come in. That particular, impediment to the market in terms of currency will be removed. And therefore, you will have influx of goods moving in and out. And if that is the case, therefore, if we don't get it right now, we may be shouting and crying and weeping. Okay. That will be increased lamentation for Nigeria. But again, there is still hope for Nigeria.
So what's your final word for the critics of this government stand?
I am not...
Can we whip them into understanding?
I am not working with government. I am not a government worker. And I hold no brief for anybody. And therefore, I stand and I say what I want to say to the best of my knowledge. And as somebody who has been on this, my advice to critics, they may not be critics. They may be talking out of, ignorance. I think that we need to watch out first before we condemn. I need to be alive before I even do business. When you allow, everything to pass, the borders open, unregulated, and then the two brothers or three brothers are not living healthy within the tenets of the agreement that they have signed, it's jeopardy. Not only to that economy, but to me as a human being, as a person who has an endorsement on that community. Therefore, I think it's important for us to understand that what Nigeria has done now to close off the border, at least for a moment, is to get things right. Get things right in agriculture, get things right in manufacturing, and also get things right policy-wise, preparatory to creating jobs internally, so that we can also begin to patronize our locally made products.
Okay.
Reduce importation. That is where it is to. And again, we need to be alive. These bullets flying up and down. I don't know how much we are producing here. Coming in from outside. Are they keeping us alive or trying to kill us, to destroy us? If care is not taken, if these borders are not closed or manned effectively, these bullets, these arms coming in, when it starts, we will forget the business we are talking about.
Thank you so much, Ken Okoha, National President of the National Association of Nigerian Trade. It's nice talking with you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's the package on diplomatic ties today. Just time will tell, and like my guest said, a trade lawyer for that matter, if we have patience, in a matter of months or years, Nigeria will be there for the world to see. Thanks for watching. On behalf of all of us, bye-bye. Welcome to Diplomatic Ties.
And we're doing our best to make it as convenient and easy as possible for prospective students.
What we can do is just support the efforts of West African countries to integrate, to organize a better regional, political and economic integration.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Diplomatic ties, building friendship and enhancing oneness among nations. Watch Diplomatic Ties on NTA International.